Could you kindly show me the witness, please? Is the witness there, Obi-Wan? Ah, yes. Welcome back, Mr. NKEA.
Bismillah, Mr. NKEA.
Thank you. Yes, you made those damning accusations against the former president of the Gambia and one former Chief Justice, wherein you suggested that through that Chief Justice, the president was using the judiciary to serve his own parochial interests.
Ya fonun komando janimbida fonyon ni wala ko yew tumri jawol men ta yala na tumnun to president me yalon ko wala be banko kanjang aning me yalon ko atela munu nyaton ko na kiti bundal be le banko kanjang yew tumri jawol men ta yala akang par hanin kabi fanan yew tumri jawol yew mel la akang
kindly tell us.
Exactly.
Kindly tell us your basis for this very how would I call it? These mammoth claims that you have made against the president of the former president of the Republic of the Gambia and a former Chief Justice in the person of Justice Agim.
Silanga fonye mu ibe tukuri munela ile ntumiri jawol me yala nunto president me be bankun kanjang aninna chioma kiti telal be la nyaton ko Chief Justice nyim bankun kan muna mu ibe tukuri munela.
Yeah, Mr. Fall, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear.
Yeah, I will start by giving one example of when I was still a magistrate.
Yes, please.
Akomba follow la kilina. Wato membe magistrate yala mbe o misal kilingu follow dealer.
Go ahead.
And there was this time
Ando tumo.
I had before me
Ando atebenu daming.
a man called Alassana S.T. Jame.
Utumo Alassana S.T. Jame kamen kumandi wala.
Proceed.
Tenteng.
At that time,
Otembo.
he was permanent secretary.
Well, permanent secretary.
Go ahead.
Religious affairs.
Dina kunyalu kunna.
Go ahead. You have to speak up.
And as permanent secretary,
Abel makamo mendo kake permanent secretary.
He was in charge, he was like the liaison, the link between State House and the Hajj Commission.
Atelo mu tema nkoti chokinda ngoti State House ning hiji kafonyi tema. Kafome mata hijo la Bangkokan.
And he had organized the lifting of pilgrims to Mecca.
Ando atele kamara kolu la kuluntila menka hijila lubondi janke samba Mecca.
And it would appear that the aircraft
Ando anatafundi ko kuluntila nying
abandoned the pilgrims in Mecca.
Ay hijila lutu Maka ayetuje.
Which year was this?
Ninketa sanjumalla.
That was about 2010.
Kaya mera 2010 sango konola wodi.
Sent to the High Court bench.
Utumo hijo keta.
Before I was sent to the High Court bench.
Janni ba kila kiti bunda ba to kake kiti ndirlati.
To the High Court. It was 2010.
Akoto nyala utuma ba High Court 2010 sango.
No, 2009.
Ako 2009 sango konola keta.
Let me just check my records.
Akomba tu yala ayala safero lujibe.
No, it was in 2009, between 2009 and 2010.
Ako 2009 long, when in 2010 sango tema, 2009.
Proceed, please.
And then?
Yeah. So
What was he charged with?
Kansul ko ya chaye tumir
false information.
Giving false information.
wala ya tumi na kay kibar soto balole di.
Was it stated what false information he gave?
fo ya itandi jele ko ay mon kibar le di me yalon ko kibar soto balole.
Yes, it was stated that he had misled.
Yes, ya nyumfo nunko tumo kuma kama lumemfo.
He has misled who?
Ay jumale filindi.
The Hajj Commission.
Amunda hiji kafo nyine filindi.
That President Jammeh had authorized that they should select the cheapest aircraft.
Alum President Jammeh nyin kamale diala si kuluntila tombo menna jobe sono yala kuluntila dolu beti.
To leave pilgrims to Mecca.
Purka hijilalu samba Maka.
When it was in fact not the case.
Andu kuma nake onyama.
And what actually happened, according to the evidence before you? Sir, you would have to wait for the interpretation. Are you hearing the interpretation at all?
I am getting them now.
Okay, thank you. Good. Respond after the interpretation. Proceed, please.
Tendeng.
Now, during the trial,
I beg your pardon, come again?
During the trial.
So,
Okay, kito
let us break it down for the listeners, for the audience. This man was charged, Mr. Jammeh, Alassana ST Jammeh, was charged with giving false information.
Silang nga bonyoto jang. Alassana ST Jammeh keta moti me yalon ko ye tomiro denga kangoda wala nyindi ko ay kibar soto balole di.
And the false information is supposed to have been a statement he made to the Hajj Commission.
Andungalo kuma soto balo ye tumiro men la ka nyana kala kulde me yalon ko ay kibar le di me yalon ko abe sujiri ninke makatala law committee o molilla.
That the then President Yahya Jammeh had instructed that he hires the cheapest aircraft that would ferry the pilgrims back to and from Mecca.
Nun kuma kan finde wala nyinde ko Yaya Jammeh nun to president ay kango di pour isi tombonde ke kuluntila company wala me yalon ko wala da so ne yata kat haji makatala bondi jang ay samba e murundina.
And the position of the state was that he did not speak the truth because Yahya Jammeh did not say so. Was that the case, Mr.
Amunta ko mendi wala nyindi ko ila lord bankola lord la mendi wala nyindi ko amanto nyafo katum Yahya Jammeh maafo.
And you saying that was the case?
that was the case.
Thank you very much. So proceed and tell us what happened in court.
Silan tenten ya fonye mune keta kiti bundato.
During the trial,
Kito nyi wuche okono.
it emerged
Afintita ko.
that President Jammeh had minuted
Ko President Jammeh ateye ko la nyami.
Aye saferoke.
Ay saferoke.
that a cheap and reliable aircraft should be selected.
Ko isi kuluntila tombong. Men jo sono yata kuluntila dolu beti bar satara asike jikin na kuluntilati.
I am not sure. It's not cheapest. A cheap and reliable.
Cheap and wala kuluntila men da sono yata andung asike jikin na kuluntilati.
Thank you very much. Proceed.
Tenten.
But the secretary who wrote down that instruction
Ko secretary wala be wo kuma kangolu tamandila menu fota ten kalimolu menu fota.
Go ahead.
mistakenly wrote the cheapest aircraft.
Adun wo mari le nata fili ayasa feje ko kuluntila men da sono yata kuluntila lu beti.
And then
It is this information
Wo kibaro le sotonta me ya
written by
sabu.
the secretary
Come again.
written by the secretary.
Ko secretary o kibaro men safe. Secretary o kibaro men safe.
Go ahead.
Which Mr. Jame related to the Hajj Commission, read out to the Hajj Commission.
O kumakan kilingo Mr. Jamme tata wole sindi hiji kafoni ma Hajj Commission menu marta hiji la Allah kuwala.
And
So,
Wa kamala
Barrister Bori Ture was counsel for Alassana ST Jame in that case.
Bori Ture wole mu loyati membe loring Alassana ST Jamme yo kito kono.
but how did the president react to that statement read to the Hajj Commission by Ansumana ST Jamme?
Silang president membe nunjang ate muneketa ala jabir dati me yalon ko yola karanga ye kabo Ansuma Alassana ST Jamme bu.
It was during the trial.
Listen to the question. The question is,
Ninkaro menti.
how did the president react
President onying muneketa ala jabir dati.
to the information conveyed by Ansumana ST Jamme to the Hajj Commission? Alassana ST Jamme to the Hajj Commission.
Alassana ST Jamme kibaro menta aya fudande ni Hajj committee o molma. Muneketa President Jamme la manyati.
The president reacted by saying that that was not the message, that was not the instruction he issued.
Abari president nata mem foto wole mnyinti wo manke kibaro ti ate yemen di.
And
And so it was concluded that Alassana ST Jamme had given false information.
Bitu wole ya sabu inata kuola nyinako Alassana Jamme ay kibar soto balole di.
and as a result,
Odalilo kang.
As a result of that, Alassana ST Jamme was arrested and charged to court.
Ya sabu o dalilo kang ya Alassana ST Jamme muta ya samba kitola.
and how did things unfold?
In the
Kuola banda nyadi le.
course of the trial,
Wato men kito be ke kang
the Chief Justice Agim
memu Chief Justice ti Agim
summoned me to his office
I no kang ka kumandi ala ofisoto
where he informed me
adu tumole we kibaro di atela
that the president considered the actions
ko president ay nyin kebaro je nyaming
of Alassana ST Jamme as sabotage.
ko Alassana ST Jamme men ko nya womu tinyaro leti amunta womu to tinyaleti ka home sabotage
And wanted that I should use that case to teach him a lesson.
andu dalilo ya sabu inyanta o kito tala ka Alassana Jamme karandir la membe kala anyaele ndirawti.
In essence, what were you being told to do?
Munta niya fomfa niya jube muna fo ko be menkela.
I understood that to mean that I should convict Alassana ST Jamme
Andu we nyine firin
regardless of the evidence.
awe nyine firinte ko nyanta Alassana ST Jamme soronnale ka tuku wo sede yari kamola.
Was that normal?
Fo mu kule de mealango ko nyandi wala ba nyanta la ba.
Very abnormal.
Woning o amanke kuti men nyanta.
Is that the way the judiciary must operate in a democratic state?
Fo kiti bunda nyingani wala nyanna kala la tamandre silo de bankuto mealango demokrasi le betama kanjeba.
Even in some undemocratic states, it does not operate like that.
Hani bankolu kang demokrasi te damen nuto buka kulu ke onya.
If I understand you correctly, you are being asked your independence as a judge to objectively look at the evidence and assess it and arrive at your own conclusion was being interfered with.
Amunta ninga taranye fahamu bake wala mnyintigo ila katara lori ifaje tumalame na kiri tela la mwiti itala hamen kuwa dama ila kusikisiro nyeme tandila ala nyala ba onyinga bak nyanna kela menti wala mnyintiko wata ila ye dabulo ke itala ukiti onyingo na nyala ba onyinga anyanda kela nyame.
How did you feel when Agim told you that?
Akete fe nyadi la bring Agim ye nyimfoe.
I felt embarrassed.
Aketam fe maloti.
And I resolved, as usual,
wakadalta kala nyamen wonata sabu
to determine the case based on the evidence.
ngakito te nyama me yalon kabelarin sede yaro le kam memfindita.
As you would be expected in keeping with your oath of office as a judge.
Ko jikobe ka nyamen ko ye kalo menta tumala men be do ko nyintala ka ke hiditela sandon ko.
And then what happened?
Munenata na ke okola.
What happened?
At the end of the prosecution's case,
Birin tata hanfonga kitindiro ke fonga mbandi kito nyina.
and based on the evidence adduced before the court,
Andun ka kolu tuku ni sede yaro la me yalon ko wala bente nyati lingula.
I upheld the no case submission.
Your voice has dropped.
I
I
upheld
upheld the no case submission.
Saying woto kol nyanta te la nyamin tefana yo kole londi nga wale muta.
and what was the no case submission
Acquitted
based
and
on?
discharged Alassana ST Jame.
Munamu woki no ke submission wala nyin tumiri moñi aman tumiri soto ye melda kan yow safiro menke munenata na usujira munela.
And on what was the no case submission based?
Nyin no ke submission e men dundi abe sujiri munela.
The no case submission was based on the fact that
Nyen ki ka foko nyi manke puti men nyanta kala kito ti anyam abelari menkanu.
what Alassana Jame had read to the Hajj Commission
I beg your pardon, come again. Your voice has dropped.
the no case submission was based on the fact that
Nyin ka fo nyi manya na kala kiti ti abelari nyin sede yaro le kanko.
what Alassana Jame had read to the Hajj Commission
Ko alahasana jamme ate kibaro memfutande Hajj Commission ma.
was actually what was written to him.
Anin kurangolu fatatale kibaro lumene yalon ko yole fateye.
So there was nothing false about what he read.
No, I'm not getting that. The level of the...
There was nothing false about what he read.
Yeah, wale mnyindi ko ku soto baliti ala kumakangolu kono IMM4.
So I upheld the no case submission. And I
Dalilo le ya
acquitted
sabu nga
Alassana
kito
ST Jame.
tenko. Nyin kito manyan na kila kuti kito sila menkan.
And what happened after that?
Munenata na ke okola
About 1 week later,
Lokun killing wokola.
I received a letter terminating my license.
Bitung inata kuo kenyame mawolem ka ntela doko kumfa.
Do you have a copy of that letter?
wol letaro nyi yala copy soto le bang.
I sent a copy of the letter to the lead counsel.
Meranga letter kiyenne the lead counsel.
Is it letter reference ZF 55501118 / in brackets 25 of 17 June 2010?
Panyinam letaro de me yala
Very
ka
well.
sabela nyun lungol la jun karotil tang ani worawla.
You confirm, right?
Walam kodi.
Very well.
Wolem.
I have a copy of that letter with me, which
letter-
you sent.
A letaro nyin na copy be mbulu janne me yala ko yewale kinyena.
It was signed by J. Belfort, Acting Judicial Secretary,
Me ye letaro nyin signé walam je Belfort judicial secretary ya be kala faringa teleman wo watola.
and it says dismissal,
Andu letaro nyin kungoro membe safirinje walam bayro.
and it reads in its main body as follows, and I quote,
Letaro nyin membe fudringa akono mbewolo karannateng abe okono walam nyinti.
I'm directed by the Judicial Service Commission to inform you that you are with immediate effect dismissed from the judiciary.
Ako me letaro nyin safe akoy kango diala tariyare ngandu meyo kango diala walam judicial service commission de walam bunda membe marden kiti bunda la ila nyaton kol nyi men ka tombondroke e yamoro diala pour yala dia bay tariyare nke.
Signed by the Acting Judicial Secretary.
Letaro nyi meya sign walam karfaro abe karfari memma walam judicial service judicial secretary wala letaro nyin sign.
The typical one-line letter dismissing you from the service.
Letter o me anon ko lera kirin drong wala beje saferinte je woronne te bayla do kola.
Lead counsel, perhaps you should emphasize that it was addressed to me.
Lead counsel mbenye mbambandila ko yenyi letro ya safeka kintelena.
Yes, of course, this was a letter sent to you and addressed to you. That's right, and that letter by one sentence dismissed you from the service. Correct? Correct?
Very well.
How did you feel when you received this letter?
I was embarrassed.
Disappointed?
Yes, of course.
Angry?
Generated some fright in me.
And why do you think you are dismissed? Because no reason had been given. We lost you there.
You cannot hear.
As a matter of principle,
Yes. Go ahead.
I went to inform the Chief Justice.
But the Chief Justice is a member of the Judicial Service Commission and was copied.
Chief Justice
Of course, to inform him that I had been dismissed and that I had received my dismissal letter.
How did he react?
And he asked me to sit. He asked me to sit down. And he informed me that it was because of the decision I took in the Alassana Jammeh's case. For which he had forewarned me.
For which he has forewarned me. Proceed.
And that when State House had asked him about he had no option than to tell them that I was a recalcitrant magistrate.
Otherwise, a stubborn one.
Yes.
And what?
So I thanked him. And I left.
Did you inform the Chief Justice that the aggrieved party had a right to appeal the decision?
For Chief Justice ko nyimol me yalongo kitio tela imi kanko ay manna kondan fo e nyanto so de pour kam kitio nyinka murun kamba walam ka appeal.
That question did not cross my mind.
As he ought to have known.
Yes.
And
it didn't cross my mind at all.
So you left his office. Did anything else happen afterwards, down the line?
A few weeks later, I received another letter from the same John Belfort, Judicial Secretary.
Member of the Judicial Secretary, Mr. Belfort,
reversing the dismissal order.
Meya lonko ye bayro menkenung ya ko kang faling.
And this time round, The letter was dated 2nd July 2010.
Later on ya safo lungo men walam July karo tilifula 2010.
Addressed to his worship, Ali Ambong Emmanuel NKEA.
Later on ya kimme ya walam Ali Ambong Emmanuel NKEA.
Very well.
And the heading of the letter is rescission of decision of termination.
Later on kunyi mensa veje walam nyinde ko falendro ke kangola e mentano pour bayro nyi.
And it reads, I quote,
Later on ay men fudi walam nyindi ko mbakaranna.
Please be informed that the Judicial Service Commission
Dukare mbe kala mutandini la nyinna ko Judicial Service Commission
has rescinded your termination with immediate effect.
ila bayro nyi ye kamo mentano pour ke bay ya falin ne sa entari yarinke.
You are therefore kindly requested to report to the Banjul Magistrates Court as principal magistrate immediately.
Woto hanin kabi woda lilo kan ngai kanindro ke bulu pour science ay tari yarinke yete fani tandi Banjul Magistrates Court pour yeke je kitindilal bela nyaton ko di tari yarinke.
By a copy of this letter,
Andu nyi letter on nyi fana ngala copy nyi.
the head of accounts is also informed that principal magistrate NKEA has been reinstated.
Men ya longo wala marlin na fulo kunya la kiti bunda nyindo yol fana kala mutande nyinna ko principal magistrate Emmanuel NKEA ya murundi do ko wala tari yarinke.
That's the letter, isn't it?
Wala mu letter rote fawandamba.
That is the letter.
Wala letter ole form.
How did you feel about being reinstated?
Biri ye murundi do ko nyinna kete fe nyaadi le.
I was again surprised.
Akitanya tere makoti.
But this was normal, isn't
And
it?
because there was no
Ari nyimu kula me alon ko anyi aka kele fawande. Adalta le kake.
This was normal. This is what used to
I
happen.
had not known it to be normal.
Ntede ngajela konyi mukuti men mandali kela.
Well, the abnormal, the abominable became accepted practice in James Gambia.
Bari jamme la Gambia jawo wato la ko le me alon ko e buka nyanno ay keta kula me alon ko mol kane mu ike mutale ike ta kake.
You agree?
Isonda.
So, well, I cannot dispute that.
Nte ososo nola.
So did you eventually come to learn about the reasons for your reinstatement?
Oh, nyato do mande inata na lonne ko dalilo me ya sabu ye murundi do ko laba.
Yes.
Ha.
Out of, the desire to know,
Me ya sabu men keta kumpo daliloti.
I met Pahari Jame.
Ntata nimpa hari jame nyoje.
What was he? What position did he hold
Solicitor
at that
General
time?
at the time.
Pahar mu makamale babulu wato la Solicitor General
He was
makamu wala.
atelem Solicitor General tinu tumbo.
And
I sought to know from him,
And
I was just expressing doubts.
nata long atele bulu
And he
tumbo.
said me,
Come again. I was
he
translating when
said
you
to
spoke.
me,
that when
Ay nyimfanya ko.
President Jame read my judgment in that case,
Ko birim President Jammeh na kitite nya karango kito kono.
he was convinced that I did not do anything wrong.
Natala nyina ko woto nte mankuke memkuja wote.
and as a result, he
And that
asked,
is why I was reinstated.
O dalilo kan wala ya sabu ye murundi do ko la.
Ha wodalilo le asabu ye mna palaso murundinga.
what did you come to learn from that action?
Ila o baro kan ite mun karan ila o baro kan.
It sent a very strong message to me
Ye kibar bambandin kinte kanang
that on matters which President Jame had an interest,
ko kuolu meni ya lon ko President Jammeh anyabe lorin kuolu menu kang.
you had to play
Wolu mukuleti meni ya lon ko
Along the lines-
nimbe tamandi la fonga songa tela kangola.
in protecting its interest
Puru ko atela lafin na
rather
kuolu
than
puru
doing
kaulu
justice.
Purkatele lafina kuolu tamandi ka wolu londi.
And what would happen
Otherwise,
Ni wonte
you pay the price.
ni wonte de imari ikana kule taki wokuokang.
But was this the only instance? Chief Justice Agim sought to interfere with your decisions? Give us another example. Tell us about the Bunsane case.
Yes. Bunsane was standing trial before me.
Bunsane fanambe kito le konontela kiti bunda nyatilimula.
He was being represented by Barrister Keba Sanyang.
Barrister Keba Sanyang lawyer wala beloring Bunsane o kitoto.
Okay. Proceed.
And at some point,
bitunko aketanya memma.
Chief Justice Agim summoned me again to his office.
Chief Justice Agim ayem commandi kongatandang kungala ala office oko.
And instructed me to discharge and acquit Bunsane.
Anyi yamarodina ko woto Bunsane ninga kito ta nsi kito te nyinkanga bula ka abondi ko nyinkono nsi abula eta.
Do you recall what Bunsane was charged with?
Nyim Bunsane fo hakilo sa mutano yemun tumir sifa nyadi le deng akangoda.
Yeah, it was something concerning, I think he mismanaged some money.
Akonyi mbedendi menna ngamira kodo dole duntabulu nyoto.
When he was Director General of the then NDEA.
Utumo atelem Director General T NDEA.
Standing for National Drug Enforcement Agency.
Koto mendi wala bunda de menga keloke sirama fengola banko kan.
And how did you deal with the case?
Ala kitio nyi ya mutano nyadi le.
Bunsane had made a confessional statement.
Bunsane kumakango fo men itandiko afango menketa ayole fo.
Admitting
kasonyin nako
to having behaved in that dishonest manner.
Uru ayetilimbali ale tamandi ala kulu kono.
I convicted him.
Ntelunata atemutale kolua ya mutale.
In spite of the instructions of the Chief Justice.
Anu wakanga ka menkang wala nyao nya Chief Justice ay kumakao mendina anu fora nyoko.
So you followed evidence instead of succumbing to instructions.
Muntai fola kumak if ibulata sede andiro la men yalon ko wollel nati e nyati ngola ye nya kasi kumakao la men yalon ko yamaro la men ditela.
Perfectly.
Wala fonketa.
And how did the Chief Justice?
I was later to understand
Okola lonata nyimfahamu ko.
That Bunsane had been very instrumental
Bunsane aketamoliti meya lonko lota kuto
in the appointment of Chief Justice Agim as Chief Justice of the Gambia.
Watu mebe Chief Justice Agim Tala kake Gambia bankola Chief Justice ay lodula bambandin tamandije.
So
and after my judgment in that case,
alumbringa kito te wo ko nyintono wotumo.
Proceed.
Chief Justice Agim persuaded Keba Sanyang
Chief Justice Agim anatanyi hamu lundi Keba Sanyang kono
to file an appeal. So that he could
to file an appeal so that he could manage it, the acquittal at the appellate level.
Puru asikiti sain kango kaning na kiti sain kango kaning isaje itelisikuolu feuja nyama me yalonko wale ba kendila Bunsane kana.
Did Keba file an appeal?
Keba anatna murungkan kiti o dundila bang.
He did not.
Amake.
But
Sanyang is there to testify.
Did that impact your relationship with Justice Ajim?
Fo narna ilanya hadama ya nyanga narna kole andiro dundi in Justice Ajim temalaba.
It only solved the existing rift that we had.
Amunda walio membije ayola sembo warandi.
How about the case of these Nigerians, Stanley Agbeze and Michael Ifunaya? Agbeze and Michael Ifunaya.
In Nigerian banku dimfulo moldu ila kitio ni Michael Afunewe
Agbeze.
Ambeze.
No, Stanley Agbeze and Michael Ifunaya.
Stanley Abeze
and Michael Ifunaya.
Yes, sometimes that should be around 2011, 2012.
Your voice has dropped again.
I said sometimes around 2011, 2012.
Kata watu men kabo 2011 kata 2012 kang.
3 Nigerians were apprehended.
Nigerian ulu mosaba inata ulu fintindi.
Nyeta.
3.
Mosaba.
3 Nigerians were arrested.
Nigerian ulu mosaba muta.
For the murder of a British citizen in Kololi.
Men sababuta tubabo la membota England banko kang membe Kololi nu otumo.
They had stabbed him to death.
Ya bung ya fa.
Ya dor.
And attempted to burn him in his car.
Ilota kang.
They stabbed him.
Ya sole ya so fa.
Proceed.
And attempted to burn the car in which he was.
Andu ilaftanum puru ka moto ta meya lonka be duoko la umotol.
Ilafita moto janila.
Ilafta moto janila abe moto menkononu.
Proceed, please.
And they were arrested by the police.
Police olunate muta.
And how did you
and their
judge?
trial was going on.
Betun ko betaka ntumo menna.
At some point, the government just executed some 9 detainees in the prison.
Mansakunda nata mokonon to fa me ya lonko utumo ulubeka sole la nu.
And Justice Agim summoned me again to his office.
And Justice Agim anatang kumandi koteke ala office
to say to me that these people were like my brothers. I should not convict them because they will be killed. But based on the evidence again, 2 of these convicts were guilty.
No.
And one of them was
guilty.
Found guilty.
The other one?
2 were guilty, 1 was not guilty.
So, what was the sentence?
I convicted the 2, and I sentenced them to death.
Gambia. And at the time, we had the death penalty.
The death penalty was still there.
How did the Chief Justice react this time around?
Chief Justice
in fact, he almost physically assaulted me. And I remember that he had summoned me in the presence
Monyala.
Of a younger magistrate from Cameroon.
Utumo kitindirla funding ko bije membotanang Cameroon.
To inform me that he was going to deal with me.
Meye nyim fanyen ko nyim paretale pour ka kuta mandina koto.
And because of that,
Wokuo kamaladung.
I had one of the worst treatment
Kuolu menia lonko uluketa
that any judge of the High Court had in the Gambia.
Kudiminding lumeya lonko aketa kusangaroti menu nene tamata na kiti bunda la Gambia jang High Court.
We would come to that. We would come to the treatment. But kindly tell us about the case of Sidik Asemota.
Silang Sidik Asimota la kiti yonye kumafanya orobang.
Sidik Asimota was a reporter, a court reporter.
Sidi Asimota abenung
with the Observer newspaper at the time.
Kiti newspaper kibar kaito meya lonko utumo abije.
I was dealing with a case
Utumo kito bembulu
of embezzlement.
Meya lonko aketa kodi tinyaleti.
Some young Gambians had bypassed the, how do they call it? My brain is a bit hot.
Let's cool it down a little.
you know, they had a system that bypassed the network.
That was the slave SIM cards, the false SIM cards.
Yes.
Yes.
They used to put it to bypass the official rates.
Yes. Yes.
So when they were arrested,
so it was a case of fraud.
The case
Proceed.
Gamtel had done the calculations according to the minutes.
According to the minutes. Proceed.
And so there was a fixed amount.
And
And these people, when they came to court,
and these people,
the GPP who was prosecuting the case,
we missed something. And these people, we missed something.
So when they came to court, these people wanted to plead guilty. And the GPP,
DPP me yalan katalom kitindirla nyaton koti.
His name was Baku.
Utumo ekafo marile Baku.
Asked for a date.
Lungo ya kanindiro ke lungo la.
He wanted. In fact, he applied that. He applied that if the guys pleaded guilty, I should a fine that was lesser than the amount they had defrauded.
Nsi kule kang meyalon ko misal kamaning alamanolem satara ate kodo nangamo sila itelie men jani.
As a sign of mitigation.
Puru sike kuti membe kulu sono yangila.
And I told him that
if
the state was willing to make some concession,
Nimbanko pareta purka
let them
yamfa
go and amend the charge.
nimbanko lafta yamfada kala nyili woto tumiro mel late kan isifereke ye kufalinji
And reduce the amount.
andun kodo nangamo men ya jani isiatala.
Otherwise, I was
Nionte
going to find them guilty on the face of the charge.
nionte ninge kitindi
And
mbe
convict
mutala
them
nyile kanko
accordingly.
ya nangamo men jani.
And so he withdrew his application.
Bitu lali lolem anatala
And the
safero
people
nyimbai.
withdrew their plea of guilt.
I beg your pardon.
I convicted them.
I convicted them.
Nge sorong
And asked them to pay, order them to pay as fine the amount they had defrauded the state.
bitu ngani le kanko ye kodo nangamo jo itelie men jani ilao baro kono.
Then following morning,
Your voice has stopped again.
The following morning,
Asamo
Samanda,
I read from the Observer newspaper
nata nyinge kibar kaito toko
an article written by Asimota, Sidik
no, there is a lot of noise I'm hearing. I don't know where it's coming from.
could you take off your earpiece? Could you take it off and maybe
Yes, I've taken it off.
Yes, and just listen. Maybe you would hear enough. Could you kindly proceed, please?
Yes, so the following morning,
Asamo
I read from Observer newspaper
ko abe safari observer kibar kaito to nyaming
an article written by Sidik Asimota
moye safero kije ka fome ye Sidi Asimota
in which Sidik was stating that
adu safero kono Sidi be nyine foka nje ko
Sidik.
I had convicted,
ko ngamo sorong
that had convicted the accused persons
ko men ye ye
and
men be
ordered them to pay
ko ngamenu
an
kitindi te
amount lesser
ngamenu mutatenke kitindi
than the amount for pleaded guilty.
a inyanta kolo men jola wo man nangamo si itelie men jani.
I saw that as contempt of court.
Ngao jele ko jutunna yala moti kiti bundala.
And then?
Ukola,
And so I caused Sidik's arrest
Bitungolem nganyin kanim puru Sidi Samuta.
because I knew
Katunganyi lonko.
that information was, that article was deliberate.
Wo kibaro men aya safe mo nya mukuleti meya lonko kusoto balolem.
So when Sidik was arrested, he was supposed to appear in court the next day.
Bire Sidi muta woso molong anyanta finti la kiti bundala.
And the next day was supposed to be a Monday, since he was arrested on a Friday.
Andu woso mo bekai ala ko nyanta lala nyam bikatu ya muta kabirin jumalungole.
Justice Agim again sought to prevail on me to release Sidik Asimota.
Justice Agim kotake ay fero bulindi pru nsi Asimota bula.
I disobeyed him again.
Kotake mbalanta la kumakangola.
And so Sidik Asimota was brought to court.
Waya sabu ye Sidi Asimota na tikiti bundala.
And while in court,
Adunga bekito kono
he
tumome.
himself accepted that he was not in court the day the judgment was delivered.
Ko ate manfang mantara kiti bundala watu me yala kito te.
And that he had been given the information by the Director of Public Prosecution.
Me kibaro diala wolem director me marta kito lu kunya lu tamandola.
I cautioned him
Nga
and
noma sata
advised
ka
him to
nyininka.
verify his facts
Ko ay nying
before he
kumakangulu bondi
publishes
mintol.
next time. That was another deepening crisis between me and Justice Akim.
O fanan keta kanwali do tenten justice Ajim tema.
And there's post this case of Abdullah Njai and Aliou Lo.
Abdullah Njai and Aliou Lo for a case file.
Could you tell us about the things involved in that case?
Is it kuma phone on your money pull double in case Ninkonoba?
That case again was filed by way of habeas corpus.
Wo kito fanang ya dundi nyamen habeas corpus yole dundi je wolem kakwo diaku ya londi.
Free ma ore baluri.
So wolem nyinti fureo wala ibaluri wolem diaku yati.
By Bori S. Chure.
The case was filed by
These
Bori
two
S. Chure.
gentlemen,
Bari turele kito nyin safe andu mo fulolu.
these two gentlemen had been charged in connection with the 2006 abortive coup.
Mo fulolu ye 2 million coup d'etat lela coup d'etat bayri ngomenketa nun 2006.
One of them was charged with participation.
Do ya tumiko adabi
I think
jele.
both of them were charged with concealment. Concealment.
Do yo
Both of them were
tuminyele
charged with
lako.
concealment.
Abota kito kalam abota coup d'etat fero nyin kalamale bari ayede kibaro nyin fe.
But on the face, when I looked at the court paper, at the police investigation reports, the cautionary statements,
Follow nyim biringe la kuma kangolu jube police la kuma safeta lumen ye fintindinang.
I discovered that
Ndata nyin taraje ko
Abdullah Njai
Abdullah Njai
had called the state guard commander
a state guard do kulala kuntonko kumandile
to inform him once he knew that there was this plot.
nyin jamfa jawo kibaro nyin ka awanyari aye.
So the element of concealment could not stand.
Woto ka foko ayede kibaro nyin telo ayabai wote keno la kuti mensilo.
So I drew the attention of the director of public prosecution
Tumolem ngakonyi yitandi mola DPP wolem director of public prosecution memmarta kito lula nga bonde akalama.
and suggested to him that it was more honorable for him to discontinue, to withdraw that particular accused person and release him.
Ando ngani na faya nko nyembekela ku nyimalet nin yo mari la kito ta ya londi woto inata bula.
The next day,
Osomo
when I came to work,
brintata do kola
I discovered a sealed envelope
nga ambuloko taraje men dabe tawunding
in my office,
na office okono
in which it was stated that
letter okono yenyine
the
foje
whole
ko
idea
ko nte
not to release Abdullah Njai
kon kana Abdullah Njai bula
was that
wolem nyinti ko
if he is released,
ni abula
based on the fact that he had informed Captain Serin Modou Njai
abelare nyin kanko ay kibaro di Captain Serigne Modou Njai la lenung
of the coup plot,
ko coup d'etat fero le sitita
then Captain Serin Modou Njai will be dismissed.
woto ebe Captain Serigne Modou Njai bayla ala do kotole.
So in protecting Captain Serin Modou Njai,
Woto purka
I should
Captain
do
Serigne Modou
everything to
Njai kanta
convict
ka
Abdullah
tankandi.
Interesting.
Nyabor.
I found this to be unreasonable.
Ngani nje ko kulem nyinti mayalon ko anin silo manta anin dalilatala.
We missed something. He did say that the letter said I should do everything to protect Captain Serin Modou Njai by convicting Abdullah Njai.
Letro nyin kono nyin fanam fota jele ko nte nyanta fero be kelale pour que Ablaye Ndiaye Serigne Modou hani pour que Ablaye Ndiaye sorong nyin kamala Captain Serigne Modou Ndiaye ka kanta ka tankandi mantoroma.
Proceed.
Akoy tenten.
I found this unreasonable.
Nataje ko nyin aman dalila soto.
And in my judgment,
Aduna kiti tenya
I acquitted Abdullah Njai.
nga Abdullah Njai nga bulale.
And I motivated his acquittal
andung alabulanya nga
on the grounds that
nga sembentu ya nyin dalila
he
kanko
had informed Captain Serin Modunjai
ay kibaro di Captain Serin Modunjai dale men keta nyin kudeta feroti
But this letter that you received, was it silent as to the consequences that would follow if you did not do what was instructed in the letter?
Fo kuma kan safeta jele ka itandi le ko ning ayatara imanson kuma kan me alan ko lebe letter o nyin kono ibe de indila.
It was loaded with threats.
kuma kan lu fota jele men keta silandir kolti.
What type of threats?
Musila kuma kan sila siva.
Abetel nako.
There was this common phrase.
Amunta nyin foro
Would not
bije.
live to regret.
Ko mben nimisalale.
And in spite of that threat, you convicted
Yes.
you acquitted the accused
No, I
person.
acquitted.
Munda ila o silandire kuma kan nyimbe ye menkiye bar hanin kabi o nyaaw nyaa inara na nyin tumir
The
woni soro.
other accused
E yabula.
person was convicted.
Nga jube nga mo mutare nyin bula e men tumi.
This particular threat
Nyin silandire kumol nyin.
was not from Justice Ajim, correct?
Imambo Justice Ajim
No,
ya
it was
kwadi.
not from Agim.
So
I
now
understood that threat
Amambo ajimi ade andu nga fahamu
to be
ko.
coming from the NIA
NIA nyin kuma kan lu bota woleto.
and the DPP
Anin DPP fangola
working
karo.
together.
Working together.
Wala bedu ko ke kan nyola.
another important issue arose in that case.
Kukuma do fanan findita o kiti o nyin kono.
That the lengthy period of pre-trial detention of Abdullah Njai.
Abdullah Njai la muto nyi wato nyi be kono muta wati jango nyin kono ala kiti o nyin kono.
Yes. They have been held in custody for over 6 years.
Itartamuto kono men siata sanji woroti.
Ime kitindi.
Isn't that?
And that is why the process was initiated by way of habeas corpus.
O dalilo le ya sabu ye ko nyin tamandi nyamen inata fuko saya bije balu bije nyanta kalale.
Couldn't it be interpreted that the extensive delay in bringing them to trial, or the failure or the lack of prosecution of that case was intended mainly to seal the other Mr. Njai, Captain Njai?
I think that was the deliberate.
Wala mtonya mweleti ya ke akamale ya wuli wale fango kama.
That's sad.
Balafa warta.
And still you were faced with another case in which the NIA was also interested.
Munta hanin kabi koreke kiti do falana te nyati lona kes la kiti la me yalon ko NIA yesulo sota kono.
Otan Skoli, Kasum Sow, and Demba Balde.
Otan Skoli, Kasum
Sow and Demba Balde.
Demba Balde.
Tell us about it.
Kuma fonya nyi Musa wala kura.
Yeah, in that case,
Okito kono
some 3 senior NIA operatives.
NIA la nyaton kado kula lumo saba.
Proceed.
They had actually tricked some Gambians to take on bail some microfinance fraudsters.
And then?
These people had opened something like a small bank in Serekunda. They collected money from Gambians. And they wanted to run away.
And
when
When
they
I'm,
were
tra-
arrested,
when I'm translating, if you speak, I will not be able to get you. Ye bank bunda ndingule le serakunda eka Gambia dingulu la kodo lutake tapale. Go ahead.
yeah. So when these people were arrested,
Ye nyimolu muta.
these NIA operatives tricked these Gambians to take them on bail as shorties.
Nyeng NIA olu ye dabula nying koto wonyale ye isambela ofisoto.
At a later stage,
Birinko meta domanding.
these Nigerians effectively fled the country.
Nigerian olu inata ku tamande iborta ye banko bula ifintita.
And the DPP
Between DPP wale memmarta kitolula
now filed an application before me
anata safero ke purka nyim fonte ko
for the forfeiture of the bonds.
For the forfeiture of the bond.
Puru wolo ila bon il purike bel akulo meyalonko abaita.
Menu ye bill pour
ye garantie min bulaje pour ya
di mansala ya
Menu ye bel woli ye sanko menke puru yodi mansala.
Proceed.
And Atuman Gay, Barrister Atuman Gay was lawyer for these three shorties.
No, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Antuman Gay was lawyer for these three sorties.
Antuman Gay atel lota mo sabole menu nyimol bail.
Now, usually, the application for the extraction of bail
Bitu otembo safelo menke ta puru nyim bel kunyalto.
So it's affidavit evidence.
No, we can't get you.
Usually, on the issue of application for forfeiture of bail, it is done by motion. It is based on affidavit evidence.
Ning moye mobile ay menu bel niwol nata bori ning ko kunimbe tamalaje akana tara laring school la sede ya ko lekan.
Affidavit evidence is
Kuma kangol lel di safiroto.
okay. Proceed.
When the DPP filed his motion,
Brin DPP ya atela fangola kuma kangolu safe.
Atuman Gay filed a counter affidavit.
Antuman Gay fana nata safero ke purka okolu ke kuntaki.
And it became clear
that
we needed oral evidence to settle the disputing contradictory evidence. So I ordered that the NIA operative should appear before me in person to be cross-examined. The following day after my order was served, when my order was served on the NIA Director General,
Director General,
Mr. Baji, he was NIA Deputy Director at the time.
Director Nolankoti NIA Wotembo.
Which Baji?
Baji Juma.
Yankuba Baji.
Yankuba Baji.
Proceed.
He came to my office to request that I should only allow those NIA operatives to swear to an affidavit.
To do what?
To swear to an affidavit.
Not to appear in person.
Saferoto bari. Fangol kan jaro kana na kiti bundaro.
Amonta be safero le kala bari fangol tina kiti bundala.
I told him that I did not see how those operatives would disobey the court order.
Nga fay jele ko nte maje de wo NIA do kulalu si balanno kiti bunda la kangola nyame.
Because he sought to impress on me
Kato hammo mo nyil tunum pour ka nyin dundin teto ko NIA ulu
that NIA operatives
ko
don't appear
NIA
in court.
de kulalu wol buka finti kiti bunda.
They can flash their badges everywhere in town and boast about being NIA officers, but they cannot appear in court and identify themselves as such.
Amunta esila kampong uli no bedol kono dinkira ka fo to NIA do kula de bari ni kuma de kiti dula do pour yana findije o manyanta ka finti wora.
That is the
So I
status.
told him
Bar nga nyin fay ko
that if those NIA operatives did not appear in court,
ni wo NIA do kulalu manna kiti bunda la.
I was going to dismiss the case.
Mbe kito nyi mume be bayla.
Did they appear?
Nata na kiti wala nyati no la
They
ba.
did not appear.
Imanna
I dismissed the case.
mfana nga kito nyi mbay.
And was that
And
the...
from that time,
Bitun kabo wato la.
I started getting attacks on my integrity,
Wato
attack threats on my tool phone,
wato lo ya
on the
damuta
internet.
kantumi na telefono luto internet to ka foy kan silandi.
Who did you
It's
suspect?
only aggravated.
Isabita ko jumala ka woke.
Adun kol nata sangara.
Who did you suspect was responsible for all these threats and
It was
smart
directly
campaign?
the NIA.
Nying ninkumu NIA o lebo tamandi kanu.
And was that the last encounter you had with Mr. Yankuba Baji?
Fo wala nyose labango nyindi ini yang babaje men soto nyotema ba.
During the trial of Justice Wowo,
Wato mebe justice wowo kitindi kang.
Yankuba Baje again approached me
Ate yankuba baji kotake anatan kang.
This time he did not come to my office.
Nyin silo de amanna na office oto de.
I met him at the petrol station at the Rusubi turntable.
Rusubi ton table oto esansero membije ngatara woleto.
I was going to my house. I lived at the time in Rusubi.
Mbita kan na bungoto otumo
And I
mbe
stopped there to get fuel.
otumo mbe Rusubi le natalo essence wa fidulato pour ka essence o sang.
And he had informed me that it was not the intention of the state
Ando ay nyine foko nyi manke bankola hammoti no otumo
Why were they
and that I should
prosecuted?
do everything
moto nyanta ko be katalale
acquitting.
pour ka nyin kito banke olubula.
Why were they prosecuting him?
Sai muna ne sabunde muna sabi ka kitindi.
In fact, I told him that I did not bring over to my court.
Dunga nyine fayan ko nte mango
And that
kol
the
na kit
investigations had been carried out by NIA and the other people.
nga fayan te ma ko samba kito ko nyi men ya dundi ko futandi o tembo to wala NIA do kulal fawd.
And that if the state was not interested in prosecuting him,
Ning
they could
ayatara-
continue the case.
Woto nimman sakunda mangi hammo soto pour ka o kito tamandi woto ye kito nyi yalandi.
But for as long as Wowo was before me,
Bari fojjan
I
ning
was going
wairi
to deal
wowo
with him
bende
according to the
nyatilimul.
law.
Ning wowo be nyatilimul.
If he is not guilty, I will acquit him.
Ni lua ma muta
If he is
mbabula.
guilty, I will convict and sentence
Ni
him.
lua ya
accordingly.
muta mbamuta la nga sorong.
How did he react?
He
Muna kira
wasn't
da manyat.
happy with that response.
Munta man sewo freng ntela o jabirola.
Was that the only interference he received from the NIA on that case?
Fo ronnem dabulo de men soto NIL
No, there was
bulo case to ba.
also this guy they call Alaji Mo.
Modo fana mbije ka fo me alaji mor.
Proceed.
Tenteng.
What's his
That is the way
real name?
Idrissa Job.
Be ka find Mr.
Idrissa
Job.
Job.
Idrissa Job.
Proceed.
Idrissa Job.
Tomu Idrissa Job leti.
Which institution did he work
But I
for?
think he was working for the NDEA, but he was everywhere.
Kato atamu molta katara dula bele to bari ngamira be do kola nung NDEA leye.
What do you mean by he was everywhere?
ila okoto mun de kafo ni akatara dingiral bel.
He was at the police, he was at the NDA, he was at the NIA, he was everywhere.
Abe police, abe NDEA, abe NIA, abe dula belo totumo.
Proceed.
He was a kind of top cop.
Amunta te mumo le time yalo mo safoko mo nene la santon kunyaton ko le muati.
Top cop.
Up cop.
Top cop.
Amunta police nyaton police santon ko le muati.
Proceed.
Tende.
And for him, he was more frontal.
Alung atela karola. Nyine sembo warta ko ate ka nyati linko la men ya lon ko ni silamanta.
And
Because
what
when
did he demand?
Ay mo kaning.
He made the same demands that Yankuba Baje made.
Ate fana ye kuma kan kilingol le fo ko Yankuba Baje kuma kan lumenu fo.
And my reaction was the same.
Andung ila Kenya be mu kilineti na jabiro mu kilineti.
And I remember vividly
Andung hakilo ya mutaka sene yako.
That he spoke to me in some broken Creole.
Adi amutanya nyaming amunta Creole wala angale kan timabalo akau kuma kan fasongo le fonye no ngotumo angale kan kuntung dingo.
Do you speak that language?
Ko ite ka tubab kan ite ka kan woni
I
mol fole ba.
understand, but I don't speak it.
Nga fahamu de bari mbuka fo.
Because we have a kind of Creole pidgin base in Cameroon as well.
Katu andel fanali ya Cameroon wotumo nyin Creole kan fola lo ka fojele.
So how
But
did
he
you?
had made me to understand
Baranata nyine ke yitandi na hanfo nga fahamko.
that I was now behaving as if I was a very big man.
Wotumo nte aya nyi yitandi na konte nga mfamutale konte mu mo baleti.
And that they were going to size me down.
Ando ni iteluba katala le purkante lao waro ka jindi.
Of course, I understood that to mean that they were going to come after me.
Nganata fahamu ko koto munyinati ko ibe wulila nte kammale.
And how did you deal with the case?
Kitiyo nyi ya mara nyadi le.
I dealt with that case as any other case before me.
Ngawo kito tamandile ko kiti wo kiti menu nata nyati limula.
The counts for which I believed, I was convinced that Justice Wowo was guilty, I convicted him.
Andu mbirenga o sede ya kulu jibe
Those I
nga
dropped, he was not guilty, I acquitted him.
ko nga funu nyame ning luwa ya muta mba mutarale barbitu nil amantanake amankuke luwa babulale.
But after the
I've been
encounters,
particular about that judgment
Andu wo kuto kuona
because
take nyame
I
wo kito
noticed that it went up to the Supreme Court.
andu kito nying anatala nyame anatatale for Supreme Court.
And the Supreme Court upheld my judgment in the main.
Andu wo Supreme Court birim futata jenga na kito te nyake jele to.
they upheld my decision in the main.
Nga kundu nyame ya sabatindi wala
Nga
nyame.
In the most important parts.
Nga kito kuntu nyame kiti nduro la karola inata wole londi je fanang.
Thank you. And
Now, after that case,
Wo kito kola.
after that period of encounter with Baje and Idrissa Job,
Birin wo wato tambita nimbaji ning Idrissa Job la wo nyoje wolu.
I witnessed the highest level of intimidation
Nata kuje me ya lonko wole mu silandiri kolu kuma bati asembe maba.
in the form of blackmail
Amunta ya kata purka
And
kululan
direct
kan
threats.
mammenuke.
and direct threats.
Anin
at some point
silandirolu.
in the night
At night what?
at about 1 a.m., 2 a.m.,
Talang killing kata talang fula suto la.
I will receive anonymous calls
Isi kumandirolu ke telefono la kan kumandi.
When I pick the calls,
Ninga telefono nyinta.
nobody will be talking from the other side.
Mo bukadia mo
And when
karadol.
I drop,
Ninga telefono landi.
they will call again.
Isi kumandiro ke kotake.
And so I submitted my phone,
Nana telefono ta nata
and they
di.
did a kind of, a kind of investigation to check who had the number
Puruka ise nying jubero kenye wo
that they
nomba
have been
men
using in calling me frequently.
wo nomba menu kan kumandi nungonya watu be purase long.
And it showed that the SIM card was not registered.
Andun tata tara ko sim cardo nying amantara safering.
And that the phone had not been used
Andun telefono nying
with any other SIM card.
sim card do mantama a telefono nying kono.
The current Minister of Interior, Yankuba Sonko,
Membe minister ya la banko kankunya la wotumo Yankuba Sonko wotembo
advised me that it was not ordinary people who were conducting the threats.
molle men ya lonko ibe silandiro leke ka men mu mo kensengolu dammanti.
He advised me to be careful.
Ay nyim fonyen ko woto nsing hakilo tu bake.
What did you understand him to mean when he said these were not ordinary people?
Ite munefa murabenga ko nyimol manke o mo kensengol tito.
I understood him to be saying that they are NIA people.
Ngani na fahamu je ko wairi mo kensen nute woto be kala NIA en kolleti.
And even without him saying so,
Alun hanni misal kama
I
atama
had
ofonu
the strong feeling
ntafango nyin duntan sondo moto ko
that they were the ones behind it.
itello moluti men be umanyala.
Some
In
of...
fact, they had alleged
Andu inata nyim fang fole ko
Proceed.
that I had forged my birth certificate from Sierra Leone,
ko na wulu kaito nyin ngatapale kaito le da ka bo Sierra Leone
that I was not a qualified lawyer in Cameroon,
ko ntamanke lawyer ti menke meye lawyer karango ke meye lawyer do ko no Cameroon.
and that I had met with lawyer Osenu Dabo
Ko ntening lawyer Usenu Dabo Bentale
secretly to negotiate and compromise the trial of Amadou Sané.
puru nyin kamala nsi ferocity nga kulo puru ka deng ka kutamandi
And that I had also
ko nyim fanan kola
facilitated the escape
nata kana
of Benedict Jame and Fatou Kamara from the Gambia.
ko ntele nga fero ke Benedict Jammeh nim Fatou Kamara la kano ka bo Gambia ntele ngo ferocity.
They even went as far
Itata fang hanifo ka
as
futa nyin
calling
toko
my siblings
ko what
to inform them that I
Calling my
arrested in the
siblings.
Gambia
kan
for
ndingulu
peddling
kumandi na
drugs.
ndingulu kaulu kumandi
To say that I was arrested in Gambia with drugs.
ika foko yente muta Gambia janne nin sira fengulu.
And all these things were online.
Alu nyin kolu bemu kulleti men ya lonko ye bankenu andu aben som do moto fanan.
How did this
I
impact you?
approached the Chief Justice
Tumo len tata Chief Justice kang
and I requested the Chief Justice to make a public statement
andu nganyin kaninga bulu puru ay kuma kango
That-
fintindi.
I had never submitted any document to the judiciary suggesting that I was from Sierra Leone Law School.
Adun ka nyina yitandi ko tenene man kaiti di kiti bundala jang ka fonte bota Sierra Leone le.
Ila luwa bunda, luwa karam bunda.
The Chief Justice advised that the most competent person to issue press statements
Chief Justice ya
was the
maro
Attorney
di mola.
General.
Chief Justice ya maro di mola me ya lonka si kuma kango lu fintindi o karola.
Were you working for the Attorney
I
General?
approached the Attorney General,
Ntata Attorney General
who
kang
was reticent.
Who was she?
Tela mun jumati.
Mama Fatima Singate.
ka fayne Mama Fatima Singate.
And what did she say to you?
Ate munefoe, ate mama Fatima Singate.
No, at that time, she just said, well, if the NIA people are doing their investigations, I should allow them to finish their investigations.
Ate nyina fanyan ko ning ena elu bela kisikisiro la woton tanyanta ulbulala le la kisikisiro ke fo e bandi.
Was that investigations or public accusation or rather a smear campaign.
Fo tumiro nyingal waranto
I believe it was a smear campaign.
All right,
because all the documents I submitted at the PMO, where I was initially recruited as state council,
menu samba PMO yen nado kota daminto
had no bearing with Sierra Leone.
Woni Sierra Leone man kokundin katandi nyola.
So I did not see where that was coming from.
Malong wo kafinti akabonan daminu otumo.
Well, all this is interesting, but your relationship with Ajim too was interesting. But was this the way in which he managed the judiciary? Tell us about his relationship with Moses Richards.
You know, when Moses Richards
was
relieved as judge.
What?
When he was removed as judge, relieved as judge.
When he was removed as judge, Agim openly stated that he had information that Richards believed that he was behind his removal as a judge.
Richard lata nyine la ko ate ajimle fero city purka abondido kuala.
And he vowed that he was going to pin Richards down.
And I knew lahido tako abe kula la Richard kan.
Proceed.
Ten.
Please. Yes, so at some point,
anatafuta watu to
Richards wrote a letter on behalf of his client.
Richard a letter safe ala kiliano toyala.
And that letter was addressed to the sheriff division.
Ado letter ya akida men wala sheriff's division.
At the time,
Otembo
Magistrate
Efim Joseph
was the sheriff.
Wala sheriff tinumotumo.
And because both of us came from Cameroon,
we had a very
close relationship.
Abota Cameroon le wotumo.
Hadamaya ben tema.
Hadamaya ben imofulo tema.
Ntol fulo tema.
Mofulo.
Hadamaya ben mofulo tema.
Ntol fulo tema.
Well, I'm attending Joseph Nying. Hadamaya be telle tema.
Okay. I did direct translation.
So Efim immediately wrote back.
Efim will note I suffer okay koteke.
Moses' concerns.
Ka itandi Moses la ko abe tembedamento.
But later in time,
when
Agim's attention was drawn to the letter Moses had written to the sheriff division,
Bring Agim inata anyim bonda kalama Joseph ya letter menki ka ki sheriff's division.
Agim wrote out a different reply.
Agim nata saferdo ke memu jabiroti jabir fasondo.
Copying office of the president,
Kadoki president wala office auto,
and copying some other dignitaries.
Anen kaletro yin copy falanki nyaton kadoliye.
In which he sought to create the impression that
yo letro kono ay nyine yitandi ko
was unpatriotic and was attacking the state.
Moses manke banko din kendote andunga be banko boyin kankanne.
So he effectively set him up with the state and indirectly reported him to the most important people who can cause Moses Richards some trouble.
Amonta ay nyine ke ay nyim parende ka Moses kungoni banko takindi nyola anata ala ko kibaro fanandi banko mo kumalula pour nyin kamala isa jube nyaaja wola.
Effectively,
amonta ketabole nyama.
What
But
happened
when he
as a
wrote out
result?
this letter,
mene nata ke okola
he gave the manuscript to Efik to type on his computer
anata
and sign
le
it.
anata le nyin kango di safera la puru safero ke ala computer to ko.
I read the manuscript myself.
I beg your pardon?
I read the manuscript
I read the
myself.
Nte fangole yo
myself.
kaito nyin karang kaito men safeta.
Proceed.
And if you saw the 2 letters that left the sheriff division,
Your voice has dropped again.
And if you saw the
if you
2
see
letters,
the 2 letters
Adu nenyi letter fulolu je.
that left the sheriff division,
Me alonka aketa sheriff division ye menki sheriff division.
you will see from the language
Ibaje la ka
that the
kuma
authors
kangolu
are
menu
different.
fota kuma kangolu menu fota o kangolu o letter o kaito luto.
And so when that letter got to the office of the president,
Ani me ya lonko yole ki president la office oto.
Richards was arrested.
Utumole enata Richards Muta.
It would interest you
And abakela alfe
to know
kanyi tandiko.
that at that time,
Wato
Richard Chenge was the director of public prosecution.
Chenge wolem director ti kito karola bunda memata kito lulanyala.
And when Richard Chenge sought to object to the arrest and prosecution of Richards,
Biring Chenge nata bokolu kalama mentata la kanyintiko Richard Mutale.
he was expelled from the country.
He was
Expelled from the country.
yate fangu mume by banko kang.
That is the immediate reason why Richard Chenge was dismissed as director of public prosecution.
Odalilo le asabu ya Richard Chenge by ka bondi kito lukunton kayala.
of course, he
And
could have.
when the
of
matter
course,
went to court-
just a moment. Of course, Richard Chenge could only have been sacked by Yaya Jammeh.
Andu ni Richard Chenge ya jame ronden keta mbe kala moti men sabayno. Kodi.
Do I take
So,
that? Do I take
that
that to?
matter went to
Does
court-
that signify your acceptance of that proposition?
Fo. Nsa tano jan ko wala munyindi ko isondala ko na miro ngamen fo bang.
I know that the position of director of DPP is a constitutional position.
Nalonko o palaso director of public prosecution kulo membe bankola constitution o wole bankola sarta bukuba fanko na bijeli.
Could have only been sacked by President Jammeh.
Andu President Jammeh adrone
Yes,
sabayno.
for that kind of reason.
Puro dalila façon luka.
Proceed, please.
Ko tenten.
Now, when that matter went to court,
Biruwo kuo futata kiti bundala.
and the
So
trial was being carried out, there was-
Chenge's replacement duly obliged to have Moses Richards prosecuted, arrested and prosecuted, correct?
Yes, of course.
Wole mnyinti ko me chenge biriate bay wonya mense la palaso to wonata nyin kangolondi pour Richard Moses Richard Muta ya kitindi. Andu wole keta.
During the trial of Moses, the country was hot. The lawyers were agitating. There was tension.
Kito nyim fangbe ke kan tumo mena utumo bulubulo ni ndabulo keta kito nyin kolole.
And everybody thought that Richard's, the prosecution should be dropped.
Mojamanyi mutako Moses ala konyi kiti bundala. I didn't get the last part of your statement.
The prosecution should be
That the
dropped.
prosecution
Ko
should be
kito
dropped.
nyin inyanta bulala le kalandi.
In your own view, based on your insider information,
Ila kimira lodo ani kasuji ning kibaro la men ditela.
your belief is that Chief Justice Ajim set up Moses Richards in order to have him
Yes, of
prosecuted.
Chief Justice Ajim ay dolingo ayola la Moses Richard nyin kamala ko isaja bulur silano akanyame isa kitindi.
just out of anger, out of spite, on the basis of what he believed Moses Richards may have said.
Kamfa kono dron ngani kamfa kono dron me alon ko ata jikita nyine ko Moses Richard ay walake.
This is
That
not
was the kind of person he was.
Why do you say that this was the kind of person he was? Could you kindly give us another example of such revenge using the justice sector institutions?
Mune sabe ko ila mira lo ko mo sifa façon le made fo misal dol fanam be jele ila mira do me ya lon ko ay muna fan ni sifa la ko take na kiti bundal ka kuluro la mo kan.
Yes, the case of Gombo Toure.
The case of
Gumbo Toure.
Gumbo Toure la Kito.
Gombo Toure.
Gumbo Toure la Kito, yes.
Proceed, yes. What happened in that case?
In that case,
Okito
Gombo Toure was accused person.
Ye Gumbo Toure atelo moti men tumi.
Accused of what?
The VC, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Gambia,
Vice Chancellor, wala Chancellor no manko membe Gambia la University otonu
was a star witness for the prosecution.
Wala keta sede bunyari ngoti o Kito nyinkono.
What was Gumbo Toure charged with?
Gumbo Toure ye mun tumirle denga
He was also charged with false information.
Ya defanan tumi kibar sotobali diolela.
Proceed.
Tenteng.
And at that time, the Vice Chancellor was Professor Muhammadu Ka.
Watembo Chancellor ikafule Professor Muhammadu Ka,
who also had some rift with Chief Justice Agim.
Meyalonko afanaye kaungwali osutule anin Justice Agim.
What was the rift and why?
Justice Agim used to be an adjunct lecturer
Justice
at the University of the
ketanun karandirlalti wati karandirla Gambia la University oto.
And at some point,
andun wato na soto.
The West African Insurance Institute,
West African Insurance Institute, wala ndo kubunda menu marta insurance kunyala fanalu,
conferred Chief Justice Agim with a professorship.
Well, nata makamo di Justice Agim la me alon ko lem Professor makamoti.
But Professor Muhammadu Ka,
Professor Muhammadu Ka
refused to recognize
Abalanta
Agim as a professor.
Abalanta purka Agim la makamota memu Professor makamoti atemanso wala.
Was Agim happy with that?
Agim asewota wala labang.
He wasn't happy.
And for
that reason, he stopped teaching in the University of the Gambia.
And did he leave it at that?
Not at all. So when the case of Gombo Toure came up, he used it directly attack the person and integrity of Professor Ka.
Utumolem doyaro ke kamod tumi ka kajafi menketa Professor Kati.
How did he do that?
Ayo Kenya dilla.
In fact, he personally wrote the judgment that was read by the magistrate.
Atelefonata kiti teo Kenya safe magistrate ye menkarang.
Was it at magistrates court level or at high court level?
Gumbo Toure la nying keti yo nying fo abe kiti bumbal to bang fa ben na kiti bundan ni ngol to bang.
Abenu magistrate kiti bundal.
And how do you
beg your pardon?
Was the trial magistrate.
Alagbe was the trial magistrate.
Wala be kito nyinta ke kanu.
How do you know that how do you know that Chief Justice Agim wrote the judgment instead of Magistrate A.T. Alagbe?
Iti yalo nyadi le ko Chief Justice Agim atele nyin kiti nyin kuntu atela safe andu amanke Alagbe di me yalo ko atela magistrate o wato wala o ma safe.
First the language.
Wala kango Kenya,
which was more like Agim's language.
Me yalo ko aning Agim la
unlike Alagbe's language.
Wala mala kangoti ate Agim andunga la safero Kenya ya itandiko ala kangolo nyindi.
And what else?
Ani mumfeng.
And secondly,
And Flanjang.
Alagwe himself had practical difficulties in reading the judgment.
Alagbe fongonata kolea taki puruka ukiti tenya karang.
Which signifies, in your view, that
He was not the author of the judgment.
Ate manke motimeyo kiti tenya safe.
Meaning that it was written for him. For him to read out.
Yes.
Ah.
That judgment, if you would be interested, try to get a copy of that judgment. And you will see the kind of catching attacks that were made on the person of Professor Carr.
Challenge my professorship, I attack your integrity and your qualifications also as a professor. That's what happened. Tit for tat, right?
But the intention which Agim had made known was that Professor Carr will be relieved as the Vice Chancellor of the University of the Gambia.
Professor Carr Vice Chancellor yala Gambia University.
Just like he removed himself as a lecturer from the University of the Gambia. So Professor Carr must pay in equal measure.
In equal measure.
So,
unfortunately, that did not happen.
So no wonder you call Ajim as the worst Chief Justice ever for you to have
under
worked
my
for.
eyes.
Yes.
In Chief Justice men nana dogo ke men jawiata tambila me men tambita Chief Justice Ajimti.
But you also did other cases of prolonged detention, prolonged pretrial detention.
Rete fana kitio dol tala men ya lonko imariñol meta Morocco no andu ila kitio ñin fana meta andu yeoke Justice Ajim la maralole koto.
Yes, in the summer of 2013.
2013. 2013 sama kono wucho daha wucho be kerin tumomen.
There was a project
do kusoton tanun
by an organization
called
Prison Fellowship International or something like that.
Me ya lon ko karansilo le membe lari mbanku ni mbankute ma sarto lukang.
In which they intended to form a project that would decongest the prisons.
Wala mnyente nyina hamo soto prudo ku me ya lon ko isa du ko tamande bari kasola ko lu kamalem.
By fast-tracking cases where people have been in detention for long.
Wala mnyente saje kitolu sekretariya kono inamana tulari nje ay me kitolu manke mol sime mutokono ilafta purka ka kitolu tariyandi.
So I was asked to sit on that session.
Uroka feroke ka bibesila o kitolu kunna nyami.
And I think
andungamira
the other lawyers who were recruited in that same session included Cecilia Jahati.
Ye lawyer lumenu dabula ndi okokono mobije ikafome Cecilia Jahati.
And there was Olimatu Danso from the state.
Olimatu Danso fanandabe ulukonole kabobanko kang.
During those sessions,
osiolu wuche okono,
there were two cases
kitifula sotonta
in which the state council
dame ya lonko mansakundala lawyer
informed the court
kitibunda afango
that they could not trace the case files.
Ko imang kito fango la le kaito luje kaito lumenu bedending kito nyina kafome case files.
After adjourning the matter a series of times,
birin ye kito nyin deng sinya jamala,
I dismissed the cases,
ndafana yo kito lubai,
ordering the immediate release of the detainees.
Ando ngani mfoko umanu be kito kono be mutoko no nya yebe bula.
This was included
alungo kono nyindabi jele
in my final report.
Na kibar labango kono
which I made at the end of the summer session.
Me yalon ko ngaw banke wo sama daha wuchew bandulale to.
And this report went to State House.
Adu kibaro atata ya futandi State House.
I understand
Nanyim fahamu ko
that the police were confronted
itu ya kuonying ya landi poliso lunyati lingula.
and they showed that they had transferred the file to the Attorney General's chambers.
Andu fananyi itande ko file lunyilde ye soundile ke futandi Attorney General office oto.
And so it became an obligation for the AG's chambers to justify why they couldn't see the case files.
I beg your pardon? Your voice dropped again.
It became the duty
Anatakela do koti ko.
for the Attorney General's chambers
Attorney General office
to show why or to explain how they couldn't file the case files.
Kajube munana okito lu file lu emeje no nyami.
So the Attorney General invited me to her office.
Biton Attorney General nata fero ke ko futandi na office oto.
Justice Mama Fatima Singate.
This was me yalon ko
Justice
member
Mama
je
Fatima
otumo wole
Singate.
Mama Fatima Singate.
She invited me to her office.
Anatana office oto.
And after getting what had happened in court,
During kolu nata tama nyame ani menketa kiti bunda nyina.
she told me directly
Anyum fonye ka senandiko.
that she was going to protect the State Council.
Ko me yalon ko la kita masakunda la lawyer ate bewo fasala le.
In her response
Mike,
to State
Mike.
House.
Was that normal?
Fodum wo mu kuleti mentally intabang.
That the Attorney General would call in a judge
Ko Attorney General sikitindi la kumandi.
to make such pronouncements?
Purka nyonyon kuma kangolu banke.
Was that normal?
It's outrageous.
Wo mu ku tajire baleti.
Proceed.
Okay, tenten.
And because I was not privy
Kato tembo mtemambo kolu dolu kalama.
to the concerns that have been raised on that particular matter from State House,
State House nata sartu kangolu menu landi wo kuoto. Ntemambo kalama nung.
and because I was not also privy of what adverse comments
Ando tumo mambo kolu fanan kalama menketa
Attorney General will
kalimol.
make in her response,
Kalimol ti meni alon ko e fota. Bitu wala nante fanan na jabiroto.
and coupled with the incessant threats that I had been receiving prior to that time, or
Adunia
up to that time,
ni ajube jani o fango be sila silandirolu ning kala jafirolu menu ye wulindi nte kamanung.
I started thinking that it was proper for me to sign out.
Tumola ngada mutaka mira ko mbatu nga fere ke ntenga ndabo ndi nyin kolutu.
And you mean resign from the position?
Inara ne fonyo do ko nyindo yida.
Yes, of course.
Ngawole mira nungo tumo.
The thing was coming so close.
Kadu kolu be katakana nyaming.
And so on the 5th of February,
Woto February karo tili lulo.
I went to court
Data kiti bundala.
and I was informed that the Chief Justice had been sacked.
Ye nyinki baro dina koye Chief Justice baile ala do kola.
And that her whereabouts were unknown.
Andung abedame mfango wotembo mo malong.
And that would be Chief Justice Mabel Ajiman.
Walam ajiman.
Argument.
Walem ajemanti.
That was very frightening to me.
Waketa kuti me yente fango silabake.
Do you know how that came
Because-
about?
Yalon ne ko nyinara na sababu nyadi le ba.
Of course.
Ha.
Tell us.
Fonya.
Chief Justice Agiman had replaced Justice Wowo.
Chief Justice Ajeman ateseta Joseph Wowo la palaso leto.
And what that meant was that
We mnyine firinko.
the Nigerian hegemony in the judiciary had come to an end.
Nigeria no la nyaton kaya na kitibunda la jang sila mfutata dangomale.
Secondly,
Fulanjang.
Ajiman did not subscribe to the
Ajiman
kind of judicial politics that Agim and Wowo would have been very used to.
Ajiman madabu la kitibunda ni lua la politiko luto meni ya lonko Wowo aning ajimbe menu tamandi kanu.
She was more on the side of an upright judiciary,
Ate lata mena wolem
a strong judiciary,
kitibunda tilindungo.
and so did not receive these NIA agents in her office or deal with them.
Wala na NIA do kulalu manta ala ofisoto.
And they have started making series of complaints against her.
Ando tumo ya damu takakalamirolu fo ama.
I know this
Ndefanga ya korosiko.
because each time I went to discuss
Katu
my
watu watu
challenges with her as Chief Justice,
nintata nyinkito la utumo watebeo Chief Justice yala.
she would tell me similar complaints that she had been having.
Afananka o nyongwa siwo le fonye akakole ya kolu menutaki.
And so I believe
Bitu wayasa abunilata nyinako
that her dismissal
ko ilabayo
was the fallout
wale walioti
of this dirty fight from the NIA.
wale mnyinti nyinkele jawo meya lonka bota NIA la karola.
Who in the NIA would that have
They
been?
wish
Juma obekela jumalti NIA ambekela umariti.
you can only think of Baji, Yankuba Baji.
Isa mira no menti wale Yankuba Baji.
Proceed.
Kwa itenteng.
So once I learned that she had been relieved,
Brinna tanyimoy ko ya bondi ala do ko tole.
and that her whereabouts were unknown,
Andu mo malom fanang afango bed min tole mo maje.
I concluded that the next person would be me.
Utumole fango yenyi mira ko woto mo kotengo membe bulala nyin noma wala bekela nteti.
So that same day I left and went home.
Bitu olunkilingo mbota je nsaita suokono.
I met a few friends
Nenka funyolu doli
and
nyoje.
I told them of my decision to leave the country.
Ngana nyingani ofoye utumole kombe banko bulala.
And so I wrote my resignation that same day.
Ulum fangole mnata na safero ke purka fonga do ko nyimbulale.
But before writing my resignation,
Bari janimbe o letro safela ka fonga
I
do ko
received
bulale.
a call.
Ha?
I received a call
I
Moyen
received a call
kumandi
from Gilbert.
from
Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Yeah, Gilbert was a military officer serving in the State House.
Gilbert musojaro loti member do
Used to
ko
be-
State House.
Yes, Gilbert, I had come to know Gilbert from my very close friend Lamin Sedi.
Gilbert nata long nteri la kolu fe nteri ba ka fome la min seidi.
And so when I go to Lamin Sedi's house sometimes in the evening,
Wati ni wati uraro nintata la min seidi la bungoto.
I will meet Gilbert there.
Nsi Gilbert taraje.
So that day he called me
Ulung ayem kumandi.
to inform me that he has heard of the dismissal of the Chief Justice
Ay nyim fanyam kaya amoyle de ko Chief Justice bay ala do kotole.
and that I was being considered
Andu be mira kante la
the
kuola
appointed Chief Justice.
pour kafo kanke Chief Justice ti.
That was even a more reason
wala fangonata ke daliloti
that motivated my departure.
meyen hammendi bang pour ka tariya ka kandaha ka bankobula.
That's further reinforced your decision.
Shortly after,
ila hamen ko nying bambandi kuke
Ha wala nata njuso bambandi.
after that call,
Biringo kumandiro botala drong.
I received another from Justice Mama Fatima Singate.
Modo fanan nata kumandi Justice Mama Fatima Singate.
And he is trying to show concern
Andung aba fangola
that he
de
had checked on me in the judiciary,
kaf
and they told her I had gone home because I was sick.
ay nyitandi kuita bundala ka fande undi ko de melna kumo fota ten asasata le aseita suokono.
That is the reason I had left in my office before going home.
Ndefango yo kuma kangole bula na office to janimbe bola je kasai.
But I had never received that kind of caring call from Justice Mama Singate since I joined the judiciary.
Kabirinde ngado ko damuta kiti bundala ntenene mawo kuma fasongo soto me ya itandi ko hammo ben hakilo ben kanne ko Mama Fatima Singate ka kuma fasongo lufanyane na manki.
And she said to me she wanted me to meet her in the office the following day
Anda natanyi mfanya ko nsita
for
ngatara
some
la office to
official
samu
discussion.
puru nsikacha.
I did not ask her what the official discussions were.
Manyini nkade wakachalu munle mwoliti.
But
Bari
I convinced myself that I had to resign,
bari nata nyimbambandi nsondo mo
and I
kono
wrote
he
out my resignation letter.
nyanta ndahala le nganna letter of finance fe memu dahala roti.
Later that evening,
Tung wolum fango wuraro
one of my security guards in the house
na kantarla lu menu kan didna dinkira kanta bungoto je mo kilimbe kono.
What's the name?
todum
Gibu them.
Ka fay jibu dem.
Proceed.
Yes, Gibu them.
Jibu dem.
Gibu them took me in his taxi
Jibu dem yembulandi ala taxi okono.
and drove me out of the Gambia
I am samba kam fintin di Gambia
using the Kanilai road
ndatanin kanilai silole la
and crossing. There's that crossing there that goes to Farafeni.
katawo
And we
silola
walked to the Senegalese border.
me ya lon ko wole tata finti
Where I
farafanye
crossed into Senegal.
ikate damen kata Senegal la nane
And that is
oton
how I left the country.
kadun Senegal nyin silo ngawole ta kabo Gambia banko kan.
Why did you do all that?
mena sawe nyimbeke
There was sufficient reason
Dalila sahari ngulu soton
for
tale
me to fear
purunga sila
that if I had resigned while in the Gambia,
ko mbe Gambia banko kan tumo menene
I would have been arrested.
nganna palaso sayindi
not because I have done anything wrong,
ka foko man fenfenke
but because I had not seen
barkatu man jerike
anybody who had resigned in that manner stay in the Gambia.
men yo fanyo façon ke na tatu Gambia.
And did
And
you?
I equally feared
Andu waya sab
that even if
ning atata fang ka
I
nyinti
were
ko
not arrested,
ye muta
I could be killed
semfa nole
by the same NIA operatives
wo NIA do kulalu fanglu se o
who have
keno
been coming after me.
men ya lonko ene ka ebe nyin hammo soto kanan kamma.
And what happened to the resignation letter you had written?
ile taro men safe puru ya itandi ko ye dahala mun keda wole taro la
I left that resignation letter with my driver,
ngo daha letro tunna drive fo le bulu men
and he
kana
did
mo
not know where I was going to.
bari ate famo malo tumo ndekata da
But I
men
told him to drive my official car
nganyele fae na office moto asa samba
to the judiciary the next morning
asa samba kiti bundala wosamo
and to hand that letter to the judicial secretary.
asio letro di judicial secretary fangola.
And you certain he did?
When I got
andu ila ta nyina ko drive way o kele
When I got to Senegal,
Senegal,
that very early morning,
was Somo Somanda Juno.
I sent a copy.
I sent a copy.
Nga a letter of Fasondo Fananki. Nga ki.
I sent a soft copy.
Nga safero ke mensono yata kaki. Kaki Attorney General ya.
And to Justice Salawada.
And then kaki Justice Salawada ya.
Justice Salawada was then the president of the Court of Appeal.
Atelom President Utinu Justice Salawada, kiti sa inkambunda atelom bunda President Utinu.
Informing them of what?
Of my resignation.
Konganda hado kuolale. Ke kalamutandi wala.
Did you ultimately?
That I had already left the Gambia.
Barwayata rante kenga Gambia mume ubulale foka pare.
Did you ultimately receive a response?
Yeah, a while, about 1 week or thereabout, I received a copy from the IT officer of the judiciary.
Na kaito soto kabo IT do ku bundala memno marta nyin computer do ko la kiti bundala karola.
He sent me a letter acknowledging a letter written by the judicial secretary. Acknowledging receipt of my resignation.
Me along ko judicial
And it suggested that my pictures have been pasted in the greater Banjul area.
And we are for Hanin Natalo, we are getting Kiral to the Banjul Ning Adalo Lula.
In the police stations in around the greater Banjul area.
And in police station also Melba Banjul Ning Adalo Lula.
I've been wanted.
Ko Mansasula Tana Kabulo Lankang.
I saw this as an extension of the campaign of blackmail and calumny against me. And I believe that it had been planted by the NIA. Particularly Yankuba Baji.
Sako a memo akoti wolem Yankuba Bajiti.
So because up till today, nobody has told me what I have done. You have been declared wanted in the Gambia. I have made open inquiries through the Attorney General's chambers. Several letters. They are unable to say anything. They cannot say anything because there is nothing.
In your experiences in Gambia, if you were to pick the two worst institutions the two institutions that were most antithetical to a democratic society in the Gambia during the period in which you worked here, which would be those two institutions?
Gambia the NIA and the judiciary.
Nie do ku bunda fula foye puriye nyala tombo meni alonko wolle musila bula lalu ti tilimbalo lu meni alonko e ka kolu du nyoto be min tole fola ako NIA and where
Kiti Bunda and the judiciary.
Yes.
And if you were to choose three personalities in the service of the government of the Gambia who were most detrimental to democracy and human rights in this country during the period you were here, who would you choose?
Niko ye mo sabatombo. Meni alonko wolle keta mo sangarol ti tajireolu nyimbanko la mansa kunda kono watu men itebe do ko la jang itebe mo juma nyole nyala tombon na
Mr. Farr. Well, I would say there are two that I would name very, very immediately.
Nsafa fula bije de mbewlu fo mbewlu to tariya fola Idrissa Job ani Yankuba Baji.
I would not like to call it third name.
Nte mo sabanjango mante la fila kaotofo.
And where would you rank Chief Justice Agim?
Chief Justice Agim ibo tembendi la mintole.
I think he should fall around the third or the fourth.
No further questions, Justice NKEA. Thank you for assisting.
Justice NKEA inumbara bake ye makoiro menke.
Quite an indictment. Thank you very much, Counsel, and thank you, Justice NKEA.
Kiaman ko inumbara bake council inumbara bake kisedo Justice NKEA.
Commissioners, if you have any questions, please indicate.
Silang commissioner ni mo yini karo so sedo isa itandi.
We're somewhat depleted. I think they're praying. If you have any concluding remarks, Justice, you may please proceed to make them now.
Silang Justice NKEA ikoniye kumosoro bela flekero kumo da soro menna isitenteng.
Do you have any closing remarks? Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Fall.
Mr. Fall.
Yes, my lord.
There is one thing I would like to say to Gambians. And that is something that has boggled my conscience for a long time.
Me ya lonko ameta lari nsondo mokan wati jang.
After I left the Gambia,
Brimbota Gambia,
I engaged in a series of letters directly to President Jammeh.
Na leto lu safe meni ya lonko ke ki President Jammeh,
in which I was trying to prick his conscience.
Leto kono mbenyine katakang puru ala miral senungo puru nyunkolu sifuta woto.
To permit the return to the Gambia.
I beg your pardon?
To permit the return to the Gambia.
Puru asesong ngamuru nang Gambia.
Of my orderly or the residential guard give them.
Ako angko laftala nyamin puru presidential guard meni alonko ketala kantar lalti folise adiala.
Of my orderly, jibu them.
Jibu them memma te fangola orderly.
Proceed.
He was actually my residential guard.
Wo fangmo atela kantar lalti ala suokono.
You know, when Gibu them assisted me to leave the Gambia,
ya lon brin Gibu dem yemma ko pour ngabo Gambia banko kan.
His other colleagues were on guard.
Akafunyo ma dolu wotumo ulube kantarola.
Reported him to the police command.
They what?
Reported it to the police command.
Wol nata okibaro di police nyaton kolula.
And the police sought to arrest him.
And police ole fero ke pour ka mutanum.
He fled the Gambia.
Afana mborta ay Gambia bula.
And he got stuck at some point in Senegal for long.
And when watina ata soto ameta Senegal amantambino.
And there was no green light for him to return to Gambia.
Andu silam fere manna soto no membate mako la price in Gambia.
And he chose to embark on the back way.
Anatanyi silota purkata koma silola.
At that time,
Watembo.
we had series of cases of people dying on the back way.
Andu tumo mo jama sotonta meni alonko ikafanyi koma silokang.
I feared earnestly that Gibudem could die.
Nsilata numbake ko Jibudem asekeno abefalale.
And I feared that if he had died, his whole blood would be on my head.
Amunta ala saya sababu belarai abetarla larin telekumokang.
I sought to persuade him to come over to Cameroon.
Nga katapurka sondi fasina Cameroon aitaramfe.
But he seemed to be more determined to use the back way.
Baridal nyene tarta sondo
Or to
motu
go back to the Gambia.
Purkata koma silola wala fisiata aina Gambia.
So there was no other way for me to cause him to go back to the Gambia.
Sila do man soto nsemenke prate muruna Gambia
than to plead to President Jammeh directly.
Bari purka katadron ka dia mu President Jammeh fangoy.
And I wrote a series of letters to President Jammeh.
And nata letterolu bulandi nyono mangamendu ki President Jammeh.
Tending to support his actions.
Kanyi yitandi ko akamenu ke mfanang yolu fasale.
Tending to support his policies.
Puru ka yitandi fanang ko ala sarto lungolu fanang fasale.
Even when they were undemocratic.
Hanna tara imang in democracy mantanyol.
But at the end of each of these letters, I will always plead for the return of Gibudem.
Bari ni letterolu be ibandulato nka wasi nyine la ko purisi yamfa Gibudem ye aisena.
And there was one thing that I noticed.
Andu nata kukilin korosi.
That in all these letters, President Jammeh made personal replies to me.
And when you later all President Jammeh jabirolu ke.
In most of them,
and wolukono jamabije.
He only solicited that I should return and work in the Gambia.
Akasonyi la de konga muruna ngana do ko ke Gambia.
But he ignored the plea for them to return.
Aya wasio nying aya nya kasi wala nga wasio lumenke Jibudem la koto.
But fortunately,
bare alana ta nyinyandi
Gibudem eventually entered Italy safe.
Alana ta dema Jibudem tata fadunta Italy tana mankala.
I was able to make an affidavit for him.
Nata katanga affidavit ke wole mga kuma kansafero CDRO ke atoya.
He was granted asylum.
Udalilo le asabu inata silo diala puru ka foko uda mole mwati mem uda ita akorio kang puru ya bula CJ.
I know
ngalonko
as a fact
konyi muto nyalete
that many Gambians
Gambia dinjama
find my letters to President Jammeh
no letter ol menu safe ke ki President Jammeh wol mukuleti men ya long abego padi
they find it incompatible
inataja ko letter ol nin kolu manta
with my standing
men ninte lodula yentelo nyaminga e letter ol ninte lodula imanke kilindi.
And it enraged the large majority of Gambia.
I Gambia din Jamal le kamfandi.
I want to use this opportunity
Laftani silo tala jang.
Foremost,
follow
to clarify the background
purka nyin senayandi dalilo
the context under which these letters were written,
me ya sabu ngani letro lu safe
and to say that
anin ka nyim foko
for the embarrassment and pain that it had caused them,
ay malo anin
I'm
de
so
ngo me
sorry.
sabu iteluma anin dimingo.
I wish that the Gambia would come out of this process properly healed
Ngani ndua pu Gambia si
and move
finti
forward as one good democratic nation.
ye bo kole yakono ye kafunyoma ye do koke ko bankolem isitama demokrasi silola ay ke kambem bankuti.
That is my last statement for Gambia. Thank you.
Wala mun nakuma la bamuti mbebe mfala Gambia ye ala baraka.
Thank you very much indeed, Justice NKEA, for your testimony.
Nimbara bake Justice NKEA ila sede yaro kang.
And my sincere apologies that for technical and logistics reasons, we started a bit late with you. And you were very patient to hang around and then wait for us to come to you. Thank you so much.
Ay watu ta mini menke aning masingula du kola kolea sababu lu ya sabu kolu dukundita hanufo watu menja nimbe soto la bari imunyata iye baturoke hanufo kolu tembeta inate la sede yaroke ilumbara.
But again, thank you very much, Emma, for a very, very helpful testimony and throwing some light on the judiciary, how it functioned during the period that you were here.
Numbara bake ila sede yaro kang inata kolu lankene makaita ndi wotumo na kiti bunda betama kanu nyami wo watu la ye kuja mabonye nyoto jembe numbara la wala.
Thank you again for your testimony.
Inumbara koteke ila sede yaro kang.
Council, I believe you have some submissions to make for exhibits.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I have two documents I would wish to have exhibited.
Please go ahead.
The dismissal letter dated 17 June 2010 addressed to His Worship A.E. NKEA should be Exhibit 226 if accepted, and the reinstatement letter dated 2nd July 2010 should be Exhibit 226A.
A as in apple?
A as in apple.
Yeah.
Thank
yes,
you.
Indeed,
Thank you very much,
requests
Mr.
are granted. Thank you again very much indeed. We are coming back tomorrow morning. The State House has just announced that tomorrow is not a public holiday in the Gambia. So tomorrow, 10 o'clock, we will resume our proceedings.
Well, Mr. Chair, of course, we were all laboring under the impression that tomorrow is a public holiday. Wow. And as such, we did not make any arrangements for a hearing tomorrow. But nonetheless, I would make my best effort to see to it that we have a witness tomorrow. If it works out, well, so be it. If it doesn't work out, it wasn't our fault that we only came to learn at 5 p.m. that tomorrow is not a public holiday.
You use your best endeavors to get some of those vehicles out of the mud. So use your best endeavors to get witness tomorrow. That's an easier task.
As always, we would do our best. For 3 years, we've only not had a hearing when we were supposed to, I think, about 3 times. That, I believe, is an unbeatable record. Nonetheless, we would make our best effort.
Splendid. And
thank you very much.
If there is any development on it, either meeting tomorrow or not meeting, we would make some announcement.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
But thank you all very much indeed. Maybe see you tomorrow, maybe not. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.